Well, I think we should just carry on because, you know, we've got 5 of us here and it is recorded. So let's carry on and do the best we can today, okay?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so what I'd like to start with is just a little bit of an introduction. In the original email that I sent you about this meeting, I had mentioned that I was interested in hearing from you, each of you, what you had hoped to achieve out of this project and what you felt that you could contribute. So James, why don't we start with you? Let us know where you're calling from and then just give us a little bit of an introduction.
Hi, I'm James Falcon. I'm calling from Salt Spring Island Toastmasters on Salt Spring Island. And I thought it was important to be part of this to help my club. We're trying to get our head around pathways. We actually created, again, it's hard to explain, but we created a club program so that when people join and they go to the first level of pathways, we also have something that's kind of a hybrid of the old system, so that we call it the confident communicator, so that people will, because sometimes people will be part of the club for so long, they want to achieve something. In the old days, it was the CC manual. You had a clear idea as to what your objectives were. You're going to complete 10 speeches. And so that's kind of what we've done. Basically, what I was told from Karen was that when you look at the level 1 of pathways, it's almost like the CC thing, except not quite as big, not quite as complete. And so the idea is we have a flow chart. They did it all out, the executive, for a system that so someone can feel, and it's something you get from our own club, so that you can become a confident communicator.
Fabulous. Does it include roles as well, or is it all about the projects and pathways?
It parallels. So
Okay.
Basically, when you're pursuing the pathways thing, I should actually, I actually have a copy of the form. If there's a way to share it on screen or something, then I'd be able to show it to you, or email it to you guys. I can email it to you actually as a PDF, and you'll see what we've
Why don't you do
done.
That? Email it to me. I'm
Okay.
not sure that we'll get to it today, but I'd be
that's fine.
interested in seeing it.
Yeah, I want to do a lot of listening today.
Okay.
Because, like I said, when I was down in Texas, I go District 55. I go to a lot of different clubs in San Antonio, and the older members, the veterans, are struggling with pathways. They say that how do you promote and sell the club or sell the idea of Toastmasters when you don't even know what you're talking about anymore? Like it's so difficult to try and communicate how it works. Maybe it's not meant to be communicated. Maybe you just tell younger people, it's like a video game. You just go on the website and look for your badges. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that that's an interesting point, and I'm making note of that because part of this whole project is how to present pathways to your clubs and that broad range of people that may not be tech savvy, they may be older members, they may be resistant. So I think that that's all of these ideas are worth sharing, and I think that one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit today is different topics for the future for these webinars, so that we have a multitude of different ways of presenting pathways.
Yeah, and also how to frame it. So if someone says, well, when I join, what's expected of me, and how to frame it in simple terms. Basically, one thing interesting I've learned is that level 1, and I haven't actually started pathways myself yet. I'm right at the beginning of it. But level 1, they say that no matter what path you choose, everybody does the same thing in level 1, the way I understand it.
They do. Yeah.
So
I think by the end of these webinars, you will be extremely well versed in pathways. Okay, and so what is it that you are hoping to contribute to when you go out to the clubs? What's the result that you're looking for?
That's a good question. Can I put that question to you first? I'd like to hear what you would say to that question. give me an idea of what to think about. In other words, if you apply that question to yourself, how would you answer it? Because you know more about it than I do.
Well, I think just going along the lines of my experience as a Pathways Guide and Mike's mandate for this entire project is to present pathways to a broad range in a way that is inviting and encourages engagement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's almost no point promoting the old system, is there?
No.
Because that's on the way out.
Yeah, that's right. Particularly to our new members, because it's not available to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's, in the interest of expediency, thank you very much, James. I really appreciate your input, and it's nice to see you and have you on board. How about you, Mary?
Okay, I'm calling from Oak Bay, and I know a lot about pathways. I was a learning master, so I got some insight there, and I was a pathways guide. And what I'm frustrated with is the problems people are having.
Okay.
And I guess it's because it was easy for me just because I had an inside track or something. I don't know. But I'm frustrated with the fact that so many people that should be okay with it are struggling with it.
Okay,
so
why do you say they should be okay?
Well, because they've been Toastmasters for a while, and to me, it wasn't difficult. But, and I know the program is good. It's the platform that sucks.
Okay.
And so, well, and the other problem, of course, is that the advanced Toastmasters are not getting into pathways because they're busy working on their DTMs. In both my clubs, there are several people that's what they're doing, and they have not even gone into pathways. So that's very frustrating.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Now that is a temporary situation. We're probably going to be faced with that for about a year, and then that will be history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I share your frustration.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I think I'm at the point, and Mike, I think you'll probably get a kick out of this. I'm at the point where at the very beginning it was different and new, and I had to work my way through. And yes, there are some navigational bugaboos in the program, and there are some things about pathways that I do not like. However, I've worked my way now through much of it, and I'm thinking, what's the fuss all about? So I have to check that, and I think we all do, because when we come across with that mindset, I don't think that we're going to be connecting with our target audience, which is that, again, according to Mike's mandate, and this project's mandate, the broader middle ground of people that are resisting pathways. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Pamela, have you found the little chat box?
Oh, yes.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, so Pamela is having trouble with her audio. So Pamela, would you mind just letting us know what you hope to, where you're calling from, and what you hope to contribute, what you hope to achieve and contribute to this project? And while Pamela is doing that, Mike, would you like to just add a few things? Your thoughts about this project and what it means to you, and a little bit of the parameters about it?
Well, Kristin, actually, you already talked about most of it, because we talked about this before, and thank you for helping out by facilitating these sessions. To me, well, going back to what Mary has just mentioned, that as a division director this year, I've been extremely frustrated with the fact that people are very hesitant to go on Pathways and explore what it has to offer and think about ways to promote it. I think a part of it is that people are not very, I don't know, tech savvy, or well, even people are tech savvy, they are not. The platform is just has something there that stops people from moving forward, and that creates a whole barrier of enrolling new members, and experienced members leave. And to me, it's extremely frustrating to see that happen. So the primary idea of this group is to get 1 or 2 people from as many clubs as possible from Division A and B together, so that we create a learning environment so that people can learn how to navigate, and people will move through the Pathways projects. At the same time, we want to make sure that they are very comfortable sharing their experience with their fellow members, so that all together we move the organization forward. So this is the starting point of this session, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say we had a special meeting where it was like a tutorial for Pathways, and we had it on the big screen at our club. We do have Wi-Fi at the library, and some people had their devices, but it would have been better if we had all had devices. But some members, especially the older ones, have computers at home. They don't have devices there. And as you know, some devices aren't easily, they will remember who you are when you log in. It's not like you can just have somebody else log in on your device. A lot of devices are secured these days, but that would be a good way maybe to try and get everybody onto it, is if you can get everybody together, maybe informally, maybe not as the entire meeting of members, but in groups, and just try to move forward with that as a group and get through that first level of Pathways. Yeah.
I tried a tutorial where I actually just shared my screen. I brought in my laptop and I shared my screen with a projector and planned to do navigating through Pathways. Unfortunately, what happened is as soon as I hooked my projector up to my laptop, I got the mobile version of Pathways. And so I find that the mobile version is not nearly as accessible or easy to understand for a lot of people. So it was, I'm not going to say it wasn't worthwhile, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yeah, we were on the browser version of Pathways when we were going through it step by step.
Yeah, and it's better. I think we're going to use the browser version today, and just do some navigation. And I realized that James, for you, this might be extremely useful, and Pamela, for you, I think it's going to be extremely useful. Mary, this is going to be old school for you, and so you'll have to just bear with us. But the purpose of it is to help all of you to understand how to bring the message to the clubs. So Pamela, I see that you've got a background in human resources and change management, so I'm really thrilled to have you on board, because this is the biggest change that Toastmasters has been through for a very long time. And I think that you probably recognize the deer in the headlights look on people's faces and understand what's behind the resistance and the fear and all of those things that go hand in hand with change management. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have you with your background on board. And I see you're from James Bay. I lived in James Bay for quite some time in my 20s and 30s. So anyway, welcome. Glad to have you here. We've got to get your audio working, because I can see that you're going to be a big contributor. Okay, so Mike.
Well, actually, Kristin.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed that there's another person who logged in, Tim from GoatStream. Do you want to?
I don't have Tim on my video.
Well, it's actually, there's a little downward arrow that you can click. that you can find at the
Oh,
bottom. That's actually what happens to me, to my
Oh, yeah, I
screen.
see Tim.
okay. Tim, hi.
How
I'm
are you?
sorry, I didn't see that you were present in the classroom. So what we're doing
Here.
right now is we're just sharing a little bit about who we are, where we're from, and then talking a little bit as an introduction about what you hope to achieve from this group, as well as what you hope to contribute. So, the floor is all yours.
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. The primary goal for me is how do we relate this to prospective members? I have a very difficult time as a guest, as someone coming in as a guest, and you have to explain to them pathways.
Okay.
It's so overwhelming for that person to take back. Whereas in the old, I'm going to say the previous educational program, you gave them a package. In other words, sometimes it's even a copy of your icebreaker or whatever. This is what it's all about. You introduce them to what Toastmasters is all about, whatever. So now we add a component of this pathway. And without Wi-Fi or without an actual connection, you can't really do something in about 2 minutes. This is something that they have to go back home. They have to log in. If they can, they get information. So that there has to be a way to give them the 5-minute, 10-minute spiel on what Pathways is all about. And that's where I get the difficulty. And that's why I'm hoping that this group here will help me in establishing that goal.
Yeah. Tim, I have a question for you around that, because I think it's relevant to how we go forward. Do you find that what we're not able, there are a lot of Pathways brochures around that provide a concept of Pathways. However, there really is no guide that gives us a map of what's coming down the road, what speeches we will be being requested to do, what the projects look like, those kinds of things. So there isn't, I've developed one myself, but there isn't a clear map that we can give people the way we used to give them the little diagram, the flow chart that showed the communication track and the leadership track. So do you think that for new members, and there's a reason why I'm asking this question, do you think that for new members, the physical flowchart guide would be more valuable than introducing to them the concept?
I think so. I really do. Something tangible that they can take back, and that they would have something in their hands, and they can, have the address obviously there. Then they can go online and they can say, oh, okay, so this is all about. But having something in writing, rather than just go visit Toastmaster.org and come back if we have any questions. Well, yeah. We'll lose them. There's no question.
Okay.
I already lost a few.
Okay, so have you looked at what brochures and things are actually available from Toastmasters to give out?
I have. Didn't find any that are very user friendly, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
That's the comments I'm getting back from. Well, for example, a new member just joined, and I'm her mentor. So she said, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I'm well, she has a coat on as she's leaving. And I'm saying, well, I don't have anything with me right now, but, if you have any questions, give me a call and whatever. And so
okay.
Started the next time, and the frustration just starts to snowball from there.
Okay, well, I think what do I do now is a really great topic for a whole session on how to get people interested in Pathways, how to get them registered, how to get them online, how to give them that roadmap. I personally felt that there was a real lack of having that roadmap until I really started to think about how well I knew the legacy roadmap when I began as a Toastmaster. Now, I had the idea that there were 10 speeches in a manual.
Mm-hmm.
but really, did I read the whole CC manual, and did I pay attention to that idea that there was a leadership track and a communication track? I have to say that I was in Toastmasters for quite some months before I got that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're, particularly those of us who've been around for a few years, we get used to the idea that we kind of know what the path is, what the roadmap is. But there was a time when we didn't know that roadmap and we still got started. So I think it's getting people out of the starting gate with something tangible. And there are ways to do that. So I think I'm just going to table that for now. I think your point is
Sure.
really well made. And that's, I mean, doing is the best way to get people involved. So if we can give them something they can hold in their hand that says, this is how you get started, this is your first project, this is how we go, I think we've got a better chance of launching people. And I think that's it's an excellent point, and I think that we need to expand it further.
I agree 100%.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so at this point, Mike and I have talked, and we felt that as a group, it would be a good idea if we had some sort of parameters about how we're going to operate and how we're going to discuss things and keep our meetings on track and that kind of thing. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who's going to talk about maybe how we can come up with some team agreements that will sort of keep us on track. Mike?
Yes. Thanks, Kristin. So for everybody here, just as Kristin said, the purpose of the following, the next few minutes is for us to discuss, because we come here as a team and we come here to learn, and I think it will be very beneficial that if we could come up with some, team agreements on how we learn as a team. For example, I'll just put one idea out there. Let's say if we are getting online every Sunday at 11 a.m., then punctuality is one of the things that we can work with. If everybody gets online punctually, then we can get offline punctually so that nobody's time is wasted. So this is, so I'm just type on the chat area here, punctuality. So this is one thing that I hope everybody agrees that we can work with that. So is there anything else that you feel very strongly about working as a team so that you get the most out of the experience?
I guess after every meeting, I don't know if it would be the person who chairs the meeting, but a summation of points that we carry forward to the next meeting, because I assume we're going to be building a database, a knowledge base to grow from.
So that sounds like a recap of the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, who's willing to do that?
Well, this is.
Do you want to take turns?
This meeting is going to be this is going to be recorded, right? So that it'll be great. It'll be easy to review it and then take the notes after, or take it during the meeting. Yeah,
the meetings are recorded, but I think a summation of the main points would be a really good idea. I don't think that the person chairing the meeting is necessarily the person to do that.
No.
I think it almost has to be sort of a minute taker, and I think that it's possible that we could share that responsibility. What do you think?
It's possible. How detailed does the recap have to be, or can it be done in bullet form? You know what I mean?
Easily bullet form.
Yeah.
So we can share the responsibility then?
Okay.
Sure.
And if we do a recap, we should, for every recap, I guess, for example, when we record these things, are we going to have an archive of these webinars? Like, are we going to have an archive of it that we can go back to? Or how many weeks is this good for before it's gone, or you can't listen to it again? Just curious, because someone might read a recap and think, oh, I want to go back to that meeting and I want to hear what they were talking about.
Now that I'm not sure. Mike, can you answer that? Do you know the answer?
Yes, James. I think you brought a very good point. So where will those recordings be archived? I'm gonna talk to the district leaders and see if we can get something on the District 21 website.
Okay.
So this is
Another option is I have a Vimeo account, and depending on how big the file is in that, I have a Vimeo Pro account thing. I could create a private or open to the membership or whatever, but I could create a playlist so that people could have access to it with a password or just open.
I think if I may contribute, I mean, this is your meeting, but if I may contribute, I think that there are no stupid questions, and everybody has a voice.
I agree.
Well, that would be a good thing to add there. Yeah.
Yeah. So no stupid questions. Yeah, have it there.
I see it.
And another thing I would like to add is positivity, because everybody's here because we have some problem with the past with one, just to varying degrees. And in order to move forward, we need to have a positive attitude.
Yeah.
So that we all learn from how we deal with those frustrations instead of just, complaining or venting our emotions.
Because we can be, I've gotten the sense from people that they don't necessarily hate pathways. It's just that they're frustrated. So it's like people are trying to be optimistic.
Yes, and Pamela, you probably recognize the fear of the unknown, and that deer in headlights look. So I think, I'm the unofficial District 21 Pathways cheerleader, and that title was given to me because my enthusiasm is contagious. And I think that going forward into the clubs, if we can wear that hat and wear that cloak of contagious enthusiasm, that's so encouraging and so motivating, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Yes,
I just wanted to make a technical comment that on my iPad, this app, I can see 4 thumbnail images of you guys, but then if I just put my finger on Mike and just slide them over to the left, now I see Mike, Mary, Pamela, and Tim. So you may have to slide if you want to see other people.
Yeah, you're right. The same thing for the laptop version. I only have 4 people on the screen at the.
Okay, well, I get 5 on my screen.
Oh, I see. Because you're a meeting presenter.
Going up and down so that I can, because Pamela's at the bottom, so I either see myself or I see Pamela.
I have all 6.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's fabulous. Okay.
So let's go back to the discussion here. So Tim, do you have anything to add to the list?
No, really good. I like all the comments that were made. I'm eager to get going, and I'm anxious to get everyone involved from the club. So let's hope for buy-in, and I think that this is really a welcome and I think an overdue forum.
Okay. Thanks, Tim. I also saw Pamela wrote on the chat area here, the first one is respectful communication. Yeah, respect. I think that goes back to positivity and a no stupid question along those lines, and also set measures of success. So can you explain a little bit more? And while Pamela is typing, then I actually would like to deflect the question to everybody here. So what does success look like for you? Because we all, commit 1 hour per week to this project, to learning. And what does success look like for you? Anybody would like to share and take a moment to reflect and share?
Well, I just want to have some ideas of how to get the members in both my clubs and all the other people that I come in contact with to get going and embrace pathways.
So it's more like getting, equipped with the tangible tools that we can use to better persuade people into pathways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
I think it'll be a bit of a learning experience. In other words, maybe every week we can come up with a tool or an idea we take back to our clubs, and then a week later we come back with feedback as to, and also as some part of the recap I could take back to my club. If there's any golden things that we come across, then I can take that back. One thing that happened last week with our club was we have a new member who joined, and the interesting thing was, I know one way to offset the stresses involved with pathways is this guest that was at the meeting, she joined the same night, and I don't think the name Pathways came up once because it was the meeting experience. And we have to remember, if someone comes to your meeting, they're not going to be faced with Pathways right away. It's the overall meeting experience. And how often in the past, even before there was a Pathways, we would stress to visitors, because not every meeting is the same. We would say, you're welcome to come back. And sometimes they wouldn't, but we always highly encourage people, come to a few meetings, because different people run the meetings, a different experience every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that meeting experience, if they come to it as a guest, that's their first impression. It won't be Pathways. The first impression will be looking at the agenda. They don't have to know exactly how the whole system works. It's the overall experience.
Yeah, James, thanks for mentioning that. Actually, yeah, to me, I just reflect on my own experience. I joined Toastmasters not because of the communication or leadership track. I joined Toastmasters because I saw some awesome speakers that I want to speak like them, and I want to practice. I want the opportunities to grow. So I think you made a really good point here, because when we think about Pathways, it's something new that we may not know everything about it, so I feel somehow incompetent in describing what it looks like, so that I feel that we may not be able to to persuade the guests into members. But a lot of times it's not Pathways that get people into people into Toastmasters. It's the meeting experience. Thanks for reminding us of that.
Yes, and I think it also needs to be said here that Toastmasters touts itself and brands itself as an educational organization. And the truth is, the reality is that in legacy, less than 17% of Toastmasters members around the world were actually achieving educational awards. So does that say that they're there for the meeting experience, that they're there for the social aspect of it? Possibly, because that's a big part of Toastmasters, as we all know. However, as an educational organization, we have a responsibility, an obligation, and a mandate to give people what they came for, and many of them want to learn, and that's what the education program is for. So it's not an option. Getting people into the educational program is a responsibility that we have.
Yeah, thanks, Kristin.
So I think we should move straight along so that we've got some time to get online. Mike, does that work for you?
Yes, just give me one more second here. So I saw Pamela wrote on the chat area, if you haven't been able to see that. So the set measures of success. So it's more quantitative data on the percentage of the members on the Pathways at a certain date, have some resources available to serve the members. So actually, based on this, I want to mention this very quickly, is that as a division director role, I don't have any access to how the club is doing in terms of the Pathways. I don't have any idea whether a member is has access Pathways, is getting on the levels, or register for a path or not. I have no statistics about that, and neither the district leaders will have the access to it. So if we all feel like getting some data that our commitment is actually making a difference, can I deflect this responsibility to every participant here? So is it okay that for this is a little homework that you have, you take this information or questions to your own clubs and figure out, so at this point, how many clubs in your club, how many members in your clubs are in Pathways, and then how many of them are sort of hesitant and struggling with the Pathways, and then and have that data ready after this our online sessions, let's say in two months, then let's look at what's the new data look like and see if we are actually making a difference. So thanks, Pamela, for mentioning that, to see where, let's get some numbers there to measure the success. Does
that which is measured can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that sound good for everybody here?
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Now, Kristin, over to you.
Okay, very, very quickly, I wanted to let everybody who doesn't already know this, just give you a tiny little history of the education program in Toastmasters, because I think what this does is it gives you perspective. So we all know that Toastmasters started way back in the 20s and that we're over 90 years old right now. So back then, Toastmasters actually started, I think, in 1924 or 25, I can't remember. Anyway, Toastmasters actually existed for 5 years before there was even an educational program. Ralph Smedley just taught what he knew, and then he kind of got tired of repeating himself over and over again, so we made a manual. So Toastmasters was in existence for 5 years before there ever was a manual. And in that manual, there were 10 lessons. It was called basic, sorry, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just a little sort of a leaflet, and it had 10 public speaking lessons in it. The guiding principles that Smedley wanted to instill in Toastmasters and incorporate into the education program, there are 4 of them, and I'd like you to write them down because you'll recognize that they still exist today. One of them is peer feedback. One of them is experiential learning. One of them is mentorship. And the 4th one is that the learning is self-paced. So those 4 guiding principles are in existence today, and they have been woven out through the Toastmasters education program right from that very first manual. In the 1960s, the manual was updated, and it was called the Basic Training Manual. It was essentially the same manual, but just a little broader. And then in the 70s, Toastmasters went through a major change. Not only did they finally allow women into Toastmasters, but they decided that the program should be tailored to what people wanted to get out of Toastmasters. So tailored to their own life experience and how they plan to use their learning and their skills in Toastmasters. So it got expanded, and that's where we started to see a series of manuals so that we could choose which manuals we wanted. And that's when the levels came in, the bronze, silver, and gold levels of communication came in. And at this time, it was still all about communication. It was another 30 years before Toastmasters really kind of glomped onto the idea that leadership and communication go hand in hand, and they created the leadership track. The leadership track is not that old. Mm-hmm. So then again, in the mid-2000s, Toastmasters underwent a fairly major branding change and incorporated the slogan, "Where Leaders Are Made." So the legacy program itself is nearly 90 years old, and it incorporates incorporates all those 4 basic guiding principles of peer feedback, experiential learning, mentorship, and that learning is self-paced. I think that by the time we reached the mid-2000s, there was such a wide gap, diversification in people that were participating in Toastmasters, and people now wanted Toastmasters for their work. They wanted it for their play. They wanted it for volunteering. They wanted it for a wide variety of different things. And so the idea was to not only close the gap, to provide something that was available to many, but also to increase that really pathetic 17% of people who were working through the education program. That's why Pathways is geared so that you have awards and badges and kudos faster than you did in the old program. So what I'd like to do now is just go online with you, and you'll see that hopefully all of you see my browser screen on your visual. What I want to do today is walk through some of the navigation in level 1. And I'm really going to just walk through the navigation in the icebreaker speech. And the reason this project is so crucial is that it's very, very different from the icebreaker that we experienced in our CC manuals. And what's different about it is that the actual project in Pathways, the actual level 1 project in Pathways, includes getting registered and going on the Toastmasters website. It includes choosing a path. It includes opening up that path, and the icebreaker project itself is absolutely chock-a-block full of navigational tips and tricks. And so it was designed to help people be able to navigate through the higher levels and projects by learning about navigation right at level 1. And you'll notice in level 1 as well that there are there's lots of information about the structure of a speech, how to control your nerves. All those kinds of things are included in that level 1 project. So this level 1 icebreaker project is absolutely crucial to get our new Toastmasters into. So let's go ahead and log in. Okay, I want to show you a couple of things here. And all of these things, I'm going to call them, I'm going to tell you that they're red flags. And I don't mean red flags in a bad way. I mean red flags in a really good way. So these are some pearls and some key points that I think are going to be really valuable to learn to do and take with you and pass the message along. There are a number of different ways to access Pathways from this website. And one of them obviously is right here. So we can go right to our base camp, we can choose our path, we can go through the navigator, which is extremely valuable in learning how to navigate. But there's also a really interesting thing here is that when we log in, we see welcome Kristin, okay? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if all of you or some of you or none of you know that if you double click on that, you get a really interesting screen. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is all your registration information here. Mm-hmm. You can see that you have got an incredible archive of your experience in Toastmasters here. Every award that you've ever earned, all the offices you've held, everything, your whole history of membership is available to you here. You can see that you can go straight to your path here. You can see whether or not Toastmasters has the correct data for you. So if we access my transcript through this path here, you'll see that it bypasses the screen, the beginner screen. So I'm going to just go backwards here. For our new members, if we ask them to access Pathways this way, they get this screen. And this screen is really important because it's got a couple of things on it. One of them is the little questionnaire that allows you to choose your path. One of them is accessing your path, and one of them is the navigator. So the navigator is a really great way to get people to start. If all you ask your new members to do is choose your path and go to the navigator, they will learn tons. So I'm going to actually access my Arbutus Toastmasters site, and I'm going to go to Basecamp. Okay, and I can go to my education transcript right here.
You have to get rid of that thing.
Okay. So let's open Dynamic Leadership, and we'll go to level 1. Okay, so here's the thing. If you are looking at a map and you're trying to get from here to Nova Scotia, it's a long way and there's a lot of roads. If all you want to do is get to Osoyoos, it's a much easier thing to tell people where they're going for a short distance first. And that's all people really need to know when they're absolutely starting pathways. You can tell them that their level 1 has got 3 projects in it. And the icebreaker is project 1. Okay? I would suggest that we create a little get started sheet that outlines all of level 1 and the projects that people are going to be asked to do within level 1, because it's consistent with every path. And it gives people a much better idea that they've got 3 projects and each project has a certain number of speeches, and this is the way you're going to get started, so that they've got that probably the first 4 or 5 steps they can see ahead. And I think that that's where we're reaching a bit of a stumbling block, is that people can't see ahead far enough to get going. So let's go ahead and launch the icebreaker. Okay. I'm going to dispel 1 or 2, give you a few little pearls to pass on to members when they're getting started. Because navigation within pathways is where one of the biggest stumbling blocks is. And this is the first one, pop-ups. So you have to make sure that the pop-ups are disabled. If you have an Apple or an iPad, you have to disable all your pop-ups. If you are using a PC, you can disable the pop-ups for this site. But this is number 1. This window is very small, and it was made small so that you could see that things were tiled and layered. Unfortunately, picture number 1 is a picture of a navigation window. It's not an actual navigation window. Okay? So people are clicking here like mad and nothing is happening. And that's so frustrating. So here's what you tell people. Make the window bigger, and then you get your navigation arrow. Okay? That's going to dispel probably 75% of the initial frustration within pathways, just that one little tip. Now, this project has a number of different windows and a number of different components to it. And we could just keep pressing this and go forward and forward and forward and work our way all the way through. But here's the other pearl. Please be sure to explain to people that this little tile here, this little field here, is absolute gold, because it gives you a table of contents of everything within this project. And you can jump around to what you need. You can jump around to your evaluation. You can jump around to what your assignment is. You can jump around to the actual content. And you can go from beginning to end just by using that little navigation tool right here. Okay, so this little button is gold, absolute gold. And here's the third and last, possibly last tip that is absolutely important for new Toastmasters to understand. Every single project within Pathways requires you to do an assess your skills before quiz and an assess your skills after quiz. And you cannot move on until you have completed both of those. They're very simple. They ask you a series of questions. Oops. You'll see, you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, all the way along. Then when you have done all the work in your project, and you are now at the assess your skills, I've done it, so I've answered the questions, and so what we're seeing now is the result. Until you see this feedback window with the before and after results, you have not completed your before and after quiz. And you must complete those quizzes before you can move on to the next project. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so gold, gold, gold. One of them, make the window bigger so that you can see this. Use the select to move to another section to ensure that you have got your table of contents. Do your before and after quiz. The other one is that if you go to your evaluation, when we're looking for forms or evaluation documents or anything, they're called resources now. The term is evaluation resource, and it gives you your evaluation forms. When they load. Okay, so here's the other little pearl, and then I'm going to wrap it up. We have an evaluation form. Then we have a way to give us that benchmark, Pamela. You'll love this. The benchmark, where we are assessing our speakers' skills on a scale of 1 to 5. What's really important about this form is that we pay close attention to page 3 here, because it explains what those numbers mean. And to be perfectly honest, if you read this and you go back to this, you will see that 3 is a really accomplished Toastmaster. And we all need room to grow. So rather than be entirely subjective about using this form, I would like you to yourself and also encourage others to be as objective as you possibly can using this form, knowing that 3 is a highly skilled Toastmaster. So if you just want to make somebody feel good and give them 5s all the way along, they have very little room to grow. So give them room to grow. Don't corner them into a 5, because if you want to say something about how well they did, you've got lots of room for comments here. Use the 3 as your basic benchmark, and that's encouraging, and it shows that the speaker did a good job. So the important thing when people say, well, I've got this project to do and I don't know where my evaluation forms are, they're always going to be here under your evaluation. Okay? So the other key thing to let people know within every single project curriculum is this window here. And this one is called Your Assignment. And it actually has a project checklist which tells you all the work that you have to do for that project. When you see it shadowed like this, it's because this directions side of the window is open. So all you have to do is close that, And then the main screen of the Your Assignment window becomes available to you. And you will see that within every project, this is the first thing I do as soon as I open a project, is I look at my project checklist, and I actually print it off and put it in a folder, because it tells me how many speeches I have to do, what they have to be about, how long they need to be, what the content should be, etc., etc. So project checklist is gold as well. It really helps the people who are visual. It definitely helps them to stay connected to their project. So you will find all of those things here, but don't bypass the navigation, because the icebreaker assignment is actually designed to get people into the site, to get people using the navigation tools, to help them learn to go back and forth. There are videos and slides and all kinds of things within this one project, as well as that single speech. So it's so much more comprehensive than just opening page 1 of our manual and giving us a speech about ourselves. So I want to keep everything on time, and I see that we're running out of time. So we're going to do more navigation as we get further along, but I'd like just very quickly to just hear some comments from everybody who's in attendance today.
Well, this
Mary?
is very,
Okay,
sorry.
Go ahead.
This is very good. It's exactly what I think a potential member or a new member would require to get going. And you're absolutely right. Once you get the icebreaker, I think it's a lot easier going along. So I'm going to first bring it up with the president and let them know that I can do a quick educational moment on this. Unfortunately, we don't have Wi-Fi where we are, so but I'll do my best to describe whatever you did here. I think it's valuable, and yeah, I'm looking forward to more sessions like this. This is great. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Tim. Mary, how about you?
Everything was good.
Okay, and I'm sure you knew it all.
Yeah, it's what I keep trying to tell people, but
Yeah.
they don't always hear.
No, that's true. And I think that as we start to get used to things, we can sometimes forget about some of these basic little tools.
Right.
Yeah. James, did you learn anything new?
Yeah, and I hope they fix that glitch, because that can be because it has nothing to do with the program. It's just a website issue.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing too, to help people understand. Toastmasters International did not write this program. They wrote the content. They used a structure that was already available, so they had their hands tied behind their backs in some regards as well. So there are limitations, and they aren't limitations that Toastmasters can just snap their fingers and fix. Okay. Okay, and Pamela, was this useful to you?
Pamela actually said something in the chat area, Kristin.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see the chat area right now.
She said thank you all for this, just to make sure we are best utilizing our time. How comfortable is everyone with navigating the site? If folks are comfortable with the site, we may want to focus our attention elsewhere. I think that's what her last comment was.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. I think what we're trying to do is remove the hurdles that are getting in the way right now of launching people down that path. So we're just removing the debris that is stopping them at the moment, because I have certainly found that the navigation of the very first project is one of us. I would call it a stumbling block.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, I think in the interest of letting everybody get on with their day and the rest of their weekend, we'll wrap this up. I would like to next time sort of take you on a look ahead so that we can look down what all 5 levels look like on one page. And then that will kind of help you to guide people to what's ahead. And also, as I've worked through, I'm working on level 5 right now, and as I've worked through the levels, I've made copious notes about why is this that way, and I must remember this and that kind of thing, so that when others get to those same levels, we can share, and I can share some of the knowledge. And so I want to share some of that with you so that you also can take some of these pearls back to the club, because sometimes it's just as simple as I can't find my evaluation forms. So if we can help people to direct them where to go and how to do it, I think that will alleviate some of the frustrations. Okay, and then what I'd like to hear from you, another little small tidbit of homework, is we've talked about a few things today, but maybe just jot down some notes and fire me off an email about what some of these sessions, what you'd like to see in some of these sessions, because this is for you, and I don't love being a didactic teacher. So what I would like is for us to collaborate on some things. So I'd really love to get some guidance from all of you and input from you about what exactly you would like to see in these sessions. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Now, have we decided this is every Sunday?
I think we have.
Okay, so our next session will be same time on March the 9th.
Will we be able to use the same ID code, the same
No,
thing, or do we have to regenerate it every week?
I think we'll have to regenerate it unless I turn that function off, which I certainly can do.
Okay, it's March 10th, not 9th.
10th.
Yes,
Thank you. Okay.
Do you think that when you send out the email, do you think it should be sent out the night before and in an RSVP that people received the email that you sent this morning?
I can do that.
It's an idea. I don't want you to get overwhelmed with emails, but at least you'll know that everybody received it.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. I will send out a reminder in midweek, and then I will send out another reminder on Saturday, Friday or Saturday, and just remind everybody that the meeting is actually, I will send it out midweek. I'll try to send one out Saturday night, but I'm actually away at a conference, so
yeah.
Leave it with me, okay?
Okay.
But I will ask for RSVPs.
Cool.
So Kristin, if you want to do the send out a reminder and you happen to be not available because you're going to be away in a conference, then I can send out to everybody as well.
Oh, that would be perfect. Just for this week.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can communicate about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for donating your time this Sunday, and I love what Mike is doing, and I think that collective voices and shared knowledge is what is going to be required. And I've said it before that we have a responsibility, I think, as experienced Toastmasters to get people into pathways and get people into the education program. Our new members don't have a choice. They can't stay in legacy. So I don't think that we're being really good role models if we cling to the old. So I'd love everybody to go on the District 21 website sometime in the next few days and open the Pathways blog and read the obituary to Pathways, or the obituary to Legacy that I wrote. It's blog number 1. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for getting this together.
Thanks, Kristin.
Okay.
Kristin, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much,
okay.
everybody.
See you all next week.
Yeah.
See you.